Libya's crisis has seen the emergence of a host of new and distinct voices in the country. Voices from the east, voices on the internet, and in the capital Tripoli, the emergence of a new Gaddafi voice, that of his second eldest son, Saiful Islam Gaddafi. Educated partly at the London School of Economics, he's long been seen as potentially the reformist figure in his father's 42-year regime. Saiful Islam Gaddafi, Saif, welcome to Talk to Al Jazeera. So, the fight back has begun.
It's not the fight back. It's, first of all, it's calm all over the country, except today what happened in AlBrega. AlBrega is an oil port, so we export most of our oil from there. And because some armed people went to the harbor and trying to control the harbor, so the army sent 12 cars just to protect the harbor. In Benghazi, it's, as you know, unfortunately, it's a big mess. So there is no law and order. There is no government. There is no security, no police, no governance at all.
So will you be moving into Benghazi at some point?
I will tell you something. What's going to happen is the following. The west, the middle of the country, the south is calm, is peaceful, no problem. Some part in the east, by the way, not everywhere, some parts, like for example Darna or Benghazi, the people will fix the situation themselves because it's unbearable. Because now, no schools, no universities, no health care, no salaries, shops are not open. So people cannot live like this forever. So soon you will see the situation will change and the people will fix the situation themselves.
So you won't go in? You won't send the army in?
No, soon you will see. Everything will change soon. So I'm very optimistic.
So bombs have been falling on Briga?
No, not bombs.
Eyewitnesses have seen
jets,
bombs, jets bombing.
No.
Well, what have they been doing if they haven't been bombing?
Briga is empty. Briga is an empty area. There is a harbor, there's an oil harbor, and an oil, installation.
So why would you be dropping bombs on an empty area?
No, the aircraft trying to frighten everybody from going near to the oil assets.
Right.
It's very important area. So, but it's a desert. It's empty. It's a desert. It's a flat area. It's not city there.
So no one's been harmed by what the jets, the army jets, did today.
The army should frighten the people not to go to the harbor because this is a very strategic place for the whole country.
But it's escalating. Has it occurred to you and to your father that there might be an alternative? That if he were to step down, no one would have to issue orders anymore to bomb their own people and potentially, or actually, kill their own people in the process? This
is a very important issue. We're not bombing our people. If we have this decision, we would have bombed the armed militia. They have tanks, they have machine guns, they have arms.
They are your own people.
No. Wait. Let me finish first. We're not even bombing the armed militia. The army is very patient, even with the armed militia. They have heavy weapons, machine guns, rockets, everything, but even the army is still patient, let alone civilians. What we have heard in the last days, that Libyan Air Force is bombing civilian districts. The Libyan Air Force is bombing demonstrations. The Libyan Air Force is killing civilians. They mention, they mention a specific districts. They mention specific areas. So you are now in Tripoli, you are in Libya, take your camera, go and film there, interview those people on those districts, they were mentioned, and show me the bombing. It's very easy.
But we're not talking about Tripoli, we're talking about the port of Briga. Look, in a bigger sense, let me explain why I ask. Let me explain why I ask in a bigger sense. Your father is a strong man. Hosni Mubarak was a strong man. But he stood down before he had to send any fighter jets anywhere. because the decision was taken not to punish the people of Egypt. So why is that not an option for your father and your family?
I would say, first of all, it's not about a family. First of all, please, there is a big difference. In Egypt, we saw millions of people marching in the streets, sitting days and night in the squares of every city. There is not we haven't seen one Egyptian citizen standing for Mr. Mubarak. In Libya, it's the other way around. Have you seen the demonstrations, the rallies? People filling all the squares and the streets?
Maybe they were too terrified of your father to risk it up till now.
Come on. If they have rally pro-Gaddafi, they are forced. If not, they are good. It's not like this.
Okay, so how many popular uprisings do you need to see before you're convinced that your father's regime has a popularity problem?
Even in Benghazi, where the biggest demonstration happened, we saw a couple of thousands. In Benghazi, you have 1.5 million people. Here, you have 2 million people. 70% of the people are living in Tripoli and around Tripoli. Please, there's a big illusion. You go and interview the ordinary people in the streets. If they have 1,000 or 2,000, even 10,000, even 100,000, doesn't mean that that everything is over. There's a big difference. Even in Western democracy, if you go with a 30% of the population, 25% of the population, you win the election, let alone Libya. Please, you have to go. You have to take your camera, go interview the Libyan people, go to the streets, go to the squares, go to other cities, and you will find out.
And what we hear when we have taken our cameras there is voices calling for human rights, voices calling for free speech, and voices calling for a democracy in Libya they don't feel they have. No. Why is it so hard when it's clear what the winds of change are?
This argument, this argument, I will not accept it, because those are my demands. I said this many times before. You know this. I made a lot of statements about this in the last 10 years. All of us, we want democracy, freedom of press, speech, civil society, election, constitution, whatever. This agenda, there's nobody against it in Libya. But I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about if you have an armed militia, if you have terrorists trying